So we're just gonna kind of jump right into it. So hi guys again. My name is Penate. Welcome to the LouLivingLife Podcast. Today we have a special guest for me. You know, I'm making direct eye contact because it is my wife. So I can do that right away. So her name is Dania Penate. Just a little bit about her from my perspective. She's my wife. I've been with her for 14 years now in March. We also have 3 children together and we work together as well. We're co-owners of our company. So with that introduction, and welcome.
Thank you. You should also mention that we work in the same office.
Yeah, I share the same space. That was the same thing. Yeah, we share the same space. I'm not somebody who believes like big in office space. I don't care if you throw me in a corner. But our last office space, we ended up having to share a room, and now we upgraded to a bigger space. And I kind of just said, I'm good in the same room if you're okay with that. You know, I know it can be a little annoying sometimes. Anyways, so I wanted to talk a little bit. Number one, you know, we're having an anniversary very, very, very soon, and
March 20th. Well, our boyfriend and girlfriend anniversary. It's not our
really
wedding.
Count the wedding.
You know? No, we don't.
But the first time we met. So, speaking on that, you know, how did we meet? So, from your eyes and your words.
Well, remember that I met your uncle before you. So my best friend was your uncle's stepdaughter at the moment. We used to go to the same school. And I met you at a family party. Mm-hmm. So what I can remember after that very curiously is that I walked in through the door and you were in the fridge with no shirt and a green Princeton high school shorts. And when you saw me, you kind of like, okay. And then you double taked again. I was like, okay, who's this?
I did do a double take. I was like, who the hell is this? Yeah. I didn't remember I didn't have a shirt on, to be honest with you.
You had no shirt on.
Did I look girlies?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's what did it. Even though that's bullcrap, because I remember particularly when I was in high school, 17, I was maybe like 115 pounds, 120 pounds. Skinny.
I think it wasn't just a shirt. It was more like your reaction. And also, as soon as I sat down, you sat in front of me on top of a basketball because you were sitting on a basketball. You weren't even... And you just start asking me questions. Who are you? Who are you come from? Where do you go to school? What's your favorite color? What do you like to do? You kind of interrogated me in like 10 seconds.
Hey man, when I see something I like, you know, I go for it. It's usually how it works. You know, funny thing is, I've always been nervous, at least I think every guy at one point is, to talk to girls. But the first time we had that interaction, I really wasn't nervous, you know. No. I wasn't nervous like that, you know. And then the next day, we basically went to the beach and hit it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that was our first time.
Yeah. That was our first time around.
Yeah, I did something. Maybe it's bad. Maybe it's good. From my point of view, it was good. From your point of view, it was shitty. Mm-hmm. Where that was senior year of high school. And the summer going into college, I ended up breaking up with her over a text.
No,
I know.
Excuse me?
It was over a text.
No text. You basically...
I did. It was over text.
No text whatsoever. At all. No text.
All right, you explain it.
No, there was no text. You literally just disappeared on me. No phone call, no text message. I literally had to show up at your house for you to tell me that you wanted it to have the college experience or whatever, and that you didn't want to have like a serious relationship during that process of starting college and having that experience.
So I think that was honorable of me in that aspect. Because again, I don't want to be in a relationship if I'm not going to actually be in a relationship or act like I'm in a relationship. It wasn't
that part. It was more like you're kind of like just ghosting me. Literally.
Well, clearly it didn't work because, I mean, 15 years later after that, you know, we're still here. So clearly that didn't work.
But
that was funny, yet awkward for me when you just showed up to my house and started knocking on my door. I want to talk to you. Yeah, that was awkward for me. But yeah, that's basically how we met the first time. The second time, I'll kind of take off from this, but the second time I was already in college. I had another girlfriend. I broke with her. And then I was the one who initiated it. I saw her on Facebook. I texted her or I messaged her on Facebook, and then she replied. So I was like, okay.
You literally hit me up as soon as I removed my relationship status.
So I was hunting.
I don't know what you were doing.
I was hunting. I was waiting. I was like, come on. Now, for my, obviously, the rest. I had a bad experience with that other girlfriend. She cheated on me. Is the truth. I caught her, and for me, that was like, this is fucking crazy, And so when I saw Dania had no relationship again, you're always so sweet to me, and I always kind of rub that in your face now, because when we first met, she was so like detail oriented, like text in the morning, hey baby, text in the middle of the day, text in the afternoon, text at night. And then now it's like, hey, I'm still here, right? Kind of thing. And I don't know if that's just like a regular thing, just couples when they're with each other for so long.
No, I don't think it's that.
Me, I don't like that. And I say that to you all the time. I don't like that.
I don't think it's that. It's more like, babe, I see you all the time.
So?
Before we didn't used to see each other. You were in school, or I was in school, I was working, and we were both of us in like different places. So right now, I wake up with you, I see you in the morning, I see you work.
That is true. We see each other basically 20 hours of the day. I get that.
So I don't see the need to text you to leave.
You know what? That's crap, because who gets you flowers like every other week?
No, I love that. Okay. I'm not saying...
Who does romantic gestures like literally every week? Exactly. Guys, I'm a romantic, okay? I know I look tough. I am tough, but I'm also romantic. Anyways, kind of moving on from that point. Now, did you think after, 14 years together, 15 years, including the first time, that we would still be together? Number one.
No, we had a lot of batches. Some like it wasn't. I think it was like more like immature stuff for like a relationship and us not having the experience. But no, I didn't imagine us getting this far.
Okay, now that we are this far, do you think we'll be together for the next 14 years?
Yeah, you're stuck with me, babe. Sorry. You're stuck for that 14 years.
I don't see it as a punishment. That's the way you're putting it.
No, it's more like...
I think we have a good balance, for the most part.
Yeah.
You leave me alone, I leave you alone, and we chase each other at the right time. I think it is, with 3 kids and managing a business together, it can be challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
I've said this even in the last podcast. I even tell this to people when I meet them. I tell everybody that you taught me how to work, in the sense that, when I got to college and actually had to get a real job, my work ethic was not there. Like I didn't care. And I tell people, you taught me. Have you always had this work ethic, or did you learn that from somebody as well?
No, I didn't learn it from someone. It's just that I had to work at a young age, and it was more like I knew that if I wanted something, I had to get it myself. And
for a little context, what I mean by that is when I met her, she was basically going to school, working as a medical assistant, and also working in a restaurant. So she was doing 2 jobs, working, doing school as well, and still had the time to text me, hey baby, I love you in the morning. That doesn't happen anymore. I'm gonna hammer that. We need to get a point of doing that again. Hey baby, I just left the bed, but hey, you look good, man. At this point, I feel like that's important for couples to kind of not lose that little spark, or else it becomes boring, and when it becomes boring, you start looking for problems. Well,
I think that was another stage of our relationship. Now we're in a more different stage, married, life, kids, work stage. You know what I mean? So that's where our nights.
God damn! I just want it. You know what guys want all the time. Anyways, that's all I care. That's not true. That sounds like a little far out there. Anyways, speaking of work ethic and jobs, right now both of us basically have like a corporate job, and we've gone through a corporate ladder. Both as insurance agents, both as healthcare or professionals in the healthcare. We both worked in medical centers with insurance companies. How do you feel as a woman in particular about the corporate setting right now in America? And that's an interesting question. I'll tell you why after.
But you're talking specifically as in setup as in specific gender, or?
Yeah, and I'll explain why. When I started this job back in 2013, I feel like the corporate world has turned around so much in the last 10 to 11 years, where when I came in it was mostly men, and now we're surrounded by women in the corporate job, not only in the insurance industry, but in the healthcare industry. I mean, we're talking about all the way from medical assistants to the doctors to the C-suites, the actual CFOs, CEOs. My parents' company, which is a big company at this point, it's all women. The sales directors, the CFOs, the CMOs, everything is women. Our company itself, for whoever wants to ever say something bad about me against women, we employ about 90-something% women. It's heavily dominated by women.
Well, I think that women want to be more than just mom or wife. They also want to be able to say, I have accomplished this in my career. It's like stepping out of just the regular standard, what it's expected of us as women.
Correct. And that's where I think this big issue is coming, it's like a cultural thing, where we're having an issue where I agree with you. Women right now, for a long time, they were oppressed in the sense of, you can't do this, you can't do that. But I think we've gotten to a point where it's now the opposite. Now, men no longer really hold those jobs, and they're coming kind of back to that industrial, like the hard jobs. So women don't want to do no plumbing. They don't want to do no handyman work. They don't want to do no electrical work. They don't want to do no trucking work. They don't want to do any of the laborious hard jobs.
No, they're going to school and preparing themselves to actually be
I agree
someone.
with that. But then how do you balance, that after? So when you get home, and it happens with me. I say this all the time. I'm a very masculine man. I consider myself a masculine man. Not in the sense like, bitch, you got to do this. In the sense that I hold myself proud to be a man, to be strong, to be concise, to be calm under pressure. But I see this not only, with us, maybe not as much, but obviously it's at its things, but especially in social media, where women want to be a boss bitch, at work.
A boss lady.
Sorry.
Okay.
Bleeped it out. And then when they get home, they also want to like command you and tell you what to do. And men are not wired like that.
I think it's important. I think in that sense, it's important to keep a balance between your career and what you want to accomplish as an individual or as a woman, or separate it from your house.
Because one of the things that I say is, and I say it proudly, not in the sense of like, yeah, you got to do it. But I love when you serve me dinner, when you serve me breakfast. Because for me, it's not like, yeah, right, you got to do it because you're a woman. For me, it's like a sign of respect. That you respect what I bring to the table, which is not only obviously all I do at work as well, but the way I teach our boys, the way I teach our daughter how she needs to raise up. We see it all the time. When the woman's on the household, it's fucking chaos. It happens with me and you. You pick up the kids and the boys are not listening to you, it's freaking the house. And I say, hey, stop. And right away order. And I feel that's the disconnect that we see nowadays, where I get it. You're making good money. You're helping run or running companies that are making the money. And so you feel like you have more of a say of how things should go at home as well. The thing is, when you stop treating a man like a man, two things happen. Either we get, I called it on the last episode with Lewis, pacification, where men are now becoming women, and we're seeing that rampantly. Or you get men who don't know what to do. I'm lost. What exactly am I supposed to do? If all of a sudden I'm not making the money, if all of a sudden I have no say, what is my purpose? And I feel like that blank stare you have right now in your face is exactly what women don't understand. You know?
Well, I don't know. I guess sometimes it's hard to separate the hustle and come home and, you know, the separation. I think, I don't know, it's different. I guess when you go home, you just take off your shoes and then you get on mom mode, you know, and it's a normal routine. But sometimes it's kind of hard. Like if you are constantly in the hustle, I think sometimes it's hard to like not go home and continue to do the same thing. And you sometimes have to like talk to yourself and be like, separate. It happens
all the time. Sometimes we have to tell ourselves, hey, it's freaking 7 at night, 8 at night. Shut up. No more work.
Yeah.
We're done. Because we've done it. We've had days where we work up to 10 at night, 1 in the morning, wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, do it again, you know? But I feel like when we don't draw those lines, that's when the issues come. And not just me personally. I'm saying I don't think me and you have a problem. I think we are the exception to the rule. We have something very unique as to where most couples are not understanding these points. And I think that's why men and women are fighting more than ever now. We don't understand our roles. You know, you could be making more money. Okay, sure. I'm still a man. I have more strength than you. I have more capacity physically and even rationally sometimes than most women. I don't say this as an insult, but I mean, every time who I consider you an executive, somebody who leads, every time we have had an emergency, who's the calm one and who's the one freaking out?
Well, when it comes to my kids, sometimes I tend to freak out. I do tend to freak out sometimes.
You know, and that's my role, to relax you, calm me down, think rationally. What do we need to do right now? Yeah. You know, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, we have a unique setup, but most women are confusing having power at work means the same as going home and bossing around your husband. It's just not going to work.
But it also depends on the type of husband that you have at home.
Well, you picked a pussy. That's on you.
So I can't speak for like other relationships, but that really depends, and also depends on the type of relationship that you have with your husband.
So speaking of, how does it feel, you know, as a mother of 3, not only running a company, but also dealing with your kids on a day-to-day? And for transparency, Dania is the one who wakes up the kids, prepares them, takes them to school. And for the most part, because now I'm picking up all my kids basically on a daily. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, she'll pick them up, she'll bring them home, she'll feed them. She'll also help, you know, get them bathed and ready for bed. You know, for all the women, it's like, what the fuck do you do in any of this, you know? Number 1, I do the stuff that just needs to be done, which is create order in my house. You guys should be in my house for a couple of days, and you're going to see the chaos that ensues when I'm not there. And Dania had this very experience when I went to Poland for a week. You know, the chaos that's in his household without a strong man. Number 1. Number 2, you know, I provide us defense. I provide us stability. I provide our children a role model to be able to, you know, build themselves after. So, and apart, I also work and build this company, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So don't come attacking me. You know, so because I know how this works. So I asked you, how do you balance that on a day-to-day? And at the same time, have the patience to then deal with me.
I think that I was struggling with that before. But mostly now, it's more like I have learned to take my time in the sense of like my working out, my routines, my nails. Which,
by the way, I'm so proud of her.
My hair.
I've been working out consistently for maybe like the last 5 years, and I've been trying to get her to do it. And she finally understood the message, convinced herself, and she's been working out consistently, I would say, for the last, 3 months, 4 months?
4 months.
So congrats to that. Keep it up.
Yeah. I think that's important. You need your time first of all to feel healthy and to have energy, to have the time to do all that. But also it feels good to dedicate some time to yourself. It doesn't matter if it's working out or doing your nails or your hair. I think that's super important, not to let yourself go, because then you will have that energy and positive attitude
and confidence. And that's what I tell a lot of people.
Yes, very important.
I feel like we have a I don't want to say a pandemic, but we have an issue in this country with obesity, with so much so that these fat people have purposely. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying these fat people have even purposely tried to get words like obese, fat as like a slur, or no, bro, you're just out of shape. You're not eating. And the thing is, like, I get it. When you're in that mindset, when you're trapped in that way of thinking, you think everybody's trying to attack you. And the fact is, we're not trying to attack you. We want the best of you. When you work out, when you eat, you're not trying to convince everybody else. You're trying to convince yourself that you want to achieve the best possible version of yourself. And trust me, when you're in shape, there's nothing like it. You do everything better. You feel better. You act better. You perform better.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I've had people tell me that a couple times. It's like, oh, I don't have time. And then I look at them in my face, and I mean, they look at me. It's like, yeah, but why am I telling you that? You have 3 kids, you work, and you still go home and you work out. And I just smile because you're stating the obvious. You don't have, sometimes your kids are older than mine, or they don't have the same responsibilities I do, and I still make the time. And I smile. I'm like, you can do it.
And I love that you've been doing that. I'm super proud of you.
Thanks,
because again, I've been years after you for you to do this. And
I think I was lacking.
Trying to convince you that it was not about me. It was for you. It's about yourself.
100%. Yeah.
But
sometimes the stuff you kind of, even apart from people telling you, you kind of have to like convince yourself.
That's the number one thing. If you don't convince yourself, it doesn't matter.
Because then you do it and then you kind of lose focus. You kind of just like, what am I doing this for? When you get convinced by others. Before you get convinced by others, you have to do it yourself.
And that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on the podcast as one of my first guests, because A, I wanted to see what the other side to me was, and B, I wanted to show, especially now in today's society where, again, we go back to the beginning where most of the corporate jobs, most of the C-suites are now being dominated by women. Some of those women are struggling either with mental health or just working out, because they don't have time. They have to work. I wanted to show what an example looked like of somebody who does work, puts in, 60 hours a week at least, has 3 kids, and at the same time, you got to put up with my shit, because I'm a very demanding person, And when I don't, I go in these little, I want to say, monk-like process where I just go in silence for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Which is something I've learned to use instead of arguing. I prefer not saying a word than arguing. But I just wanted to show a real life example that it's possible. And that's kind of like where I'm leading to, I guess, our last couple points. One of the things for me, I don't want to say it's a fear, but it's definitely a concern, is, our youngest is a girl. We have a daughter. And seeing as how a woman right now in society is either 2 things. You're either executive or you're basically a slut. Because that's literally what we see in social media. Women showing their body, their ass, their boobs, and then at the same time not wanting to be labeled as a slut, as somebody who's easy. How do you as a mother feel that way? Are you excited or worried, that social media and the message that's being broadcast out right now in America is harmful to our little girl?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I mean, it can be influencers somehow, but that comes down to your parenting and your teachings and your examples to your daughter or your kids. Because at the end of the day, yes, they see a lot of outside the world. They're in school and they go out with their friends, but it also has to be with your standards and what you teach your daughter or you show them.
Was this a problem, when you were growing up in high school and
definitely
middle school?
I was, we didn't have that many, social media wasn't, back then we had MySpace and Facebook. But
that's just saying how old we're getting.
But
33 almost, guys.
Also, I was more of since I worked and had my own things at a young age, I kind of had value more on that aspect. I didn't like to drink and I had my own car when I was 16. So my friends were usually asking for me for a ride, and taking them somewhere. And then I usually had to be the responsible one since I was the one driving. I would take everybody home. Drunk as shit, but I would take everybody home. And I remember one time I took one of my friends home and her mom literally blasted my mom the next day that I was irresponsible and that I had gotten her daughter drunk.
Interesting.
And my mom was like, well, my dad didn't come drunk. Yeah, that day I got home at 5 a.m, but it's because she got so drunk and we were underage that we weren't allowed to leave the club, because as soon as you leave the club, there was a police officer outside.
It was the club's fault to begin with for allowing underage people.
That happens all the time.
But that's usually how parenting works in a lot of ways here. Most parents don't want to be self-accountable to the mistakes.
Well, she also didn't assume her responsibility that she had gotten herself drunk, and that's why I had to wait until 5 a.m. to have her sober up.
So you did her a favor, and then you got blamed for it. That's why.
And she didn't step up to her mom to let her know, look, it was my fault. I drank too much. I wasn't.
It's also kids. Kids are not gonna. Yeah. Kids are always a little selfish.
But it is what it is. But my mom knew my version, and she knew, she saw me getting home, so I was perfectly fine, and I drove home. Then I explained to her, look, she got really drunk and I didn't want to leave her. So I waited, took her home, and then came home. That day I dropped off my 2 friends at home first before getting home. But they got home safe. They had drank a lot. But I took them home safely.
That's one other thing. I'm happy you don't like to drink. I don't like to drink either. I'm not a drinker.
I'm not a drinker.
I'm not really. It just doesn't make me feel good. So I think on the final point that I want to finish this off, as I was saying, social media right now is filled with, sex, everything basically that you shouldn't do is basically right now on social media. Instagram.
I think that has gotten me is that my kids are gonna wait a bit to have a cell phone of their own.
I don't think we should allow them to have social media until they're basically 17, 18.
I didn't have social media until I was 14, 15 years old.
No, I didn't. I used to be...
I didn't have first
social media. Let me explain. It was the AOL chat. I used to use... Again, this is way back. I used to use AOL chat back when I was 11,
everybody 10. Used to have AOL chats, but that's not... But that wasn't really social media.
That wasn't social media back then. Everybody had a handle.
Yeah, but it wasn't...
Write me here.
Yeah, but it wasn't like right now.
No, it isn't.
Right.
And I think right now the problem is that everything has become sexualized. Everything has become demoralized. Drugs are okay to do. Drugs is okay to do. Sex is okay to do. Disrespecting people is okay. People don't really respect each other. So, and the note I want to finish is, well, what message would you have to little girls or mothers of little girls that they don't want that debauchery. They want to be correct. They want to do the right things. And obviously, you're a great example of that. What would you tell them as far as how can they get to your position or even better?
Well, I think that you have to show your kids with yourself, give them examples of what you want them to do, and show them also with your the way you want things to be done. If you want your kids to be healthy, show them that they need to be healthy. Work out with them, or show them that you work out every day. Give them an example. How do I do it for our kids? Mm-hmm. Well, most of the time when I'm home and Damian sees me working out, he actually goes outside and wants to work out as well. Mm-hmm. So showing them who we want them to be by being you, basically. And
food-wise?
Well, food-wise, I make the food. I'm the one who cooks for my family, right? So I cook them healthy meals. And usually if we buy snacks and stuff like that, most of the time it's, a little bit for the weekend or sometimes, but our pantry is not full of sweets and stuff like that.
I would say mostly fruits. My mom usually criticizes it. What do you mean you're feeding your kids like meat and vegetables and stuff? You be feeding them rice and chicken nuggets and this and that. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
And the funny thing is,
and they eat everything.
Our eldest is 6 and he eats everything. Lettuce, tomatoes,
Emily,
cucumbers, everything.
With Emily, I do the 3 plates, right? I put the meat. Then after that, I put the vegetables. And then after that, the fruits. And then finally, if she's still asking me for food, I would be like, here's some yogurt. But she eats everything you put in front of her. So,
and then what would you tell those little girls that say, by any chance, if they ever watch this, or a mom, what would you tell them, what they should they be focusing on so they can also have success?
Focus on you, on yourself, and be healthy. And then everything else will literally fall into place. Because your kids...
I'll disagree with you on that. And that's such a blanket statement.
It's not a blanket statement. Well, specifically, be who you think your kids want to be when they grow up. Right? Be the example for your kids. I like that. Right? I cannot tell my kid, you need to be healthy when I'm, 300 pounds and eating McDonald's every day. You have to be the example.
The doctor that you go in to see, and he's like, bro, you're obese, and he's also obese, but you know what you need to do is diet and stuff. It sounds so hypocritical.
It does, but like I said, and then sometimes I know your kids will give you a hard time. No, I don't want to eat that. But I think you need to sit down. Miss Bobby, just try it out. It tastes really good. And then when also sitting together, eating together, and, we have our middle child is a little bit...
He's Louis 2.0.
Yep. And he's definitely challenging me every day. He's a challenge every day, But I think that when you sit down with him and you feed him and you teach him and you get him excited about other things, they kind of get excited about eating the vegetables and eating the meat.
And he gives a hard time. So for context, our middle son is a lot like me in a sense of, super hyper. Like, always has to move, always doing stuff he's not supposed to do, giving a hard time. But he listens to discipline and a strong voice. So that's where I come in, because that's exactly what happened to me. My father is a disciplinarian and a tough voice. And obviously it worked for me, so I'm making it work for him. And when he doesn't listen, people, what do? I punish them by making them work out. Which it sounds bad, but it's not. It's great. It helps them stay healthy. And at the same time, it's like, crap, we act up. Dad's going to make us do some hard work. So it's like, it's a positive. It's a net positive. Other than, obviously, I've never once laid a hand on our kids. I really believe we don't have to hit somebody to get the result we want. I think it's about respect and setting boundaries. Now, with that being said, thank you so much for participating. I know you're a little nervous to do this. Hopefully it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be.
I don't like to put myself out there too much. I'm more like a silent, Yeah,
you like to work and keep moving forward. Yeah. But I think it's important for you to share your experience as well, because this is kind of what I want to make the podcast, guys. I'm not really interested in having conversations with just famous people after famous people. I don't care. I'd rather show the real world, the people who actually make stuff happen, the people who actually move the world.
Don't take away from famous people. I mean, famous people are who they are. They had to start somewhere at the bottom.
No.
But I think what you want to do, you want to have normal people, regular problems,
correct,
kind of thing.
Because I feel like the majority of the spotlight is on celebrities, as opposed to celebrities are a minority. They're not the majority. As opposed to where everyday people who are actually working and getting this country moving and actually producing. They're, like you said, they're really in the silence. They're not really being looked at. And I think it's a good way to show people what they can be in a positive light. Instead of, celebrities, which is the minority, it's harder to become that. And the majority of celebrities nowadays become celebrities through controversy. As opposed to before it was talent, now it's just controversy. That's what sells nowadays. But problems equals money.
But, also it's sometimes... It's the routine and the constant hustle and, having to do the consistency sometimes is hard. You get those times where you're like,
but that's life.
Exactly. So you just have to find your purpose, who you want to be, why you want to be that, and who you want to become, and why. You have to find your why.
I think that's the biggest thing.
And I think, what helps me too, that I've been doing for 2 years already consecutive, is my vision board. I know it's weird, but
yeah, I don't care for vision boards.
I like
works for her.
It works for me. I'm a visual person. Like, I like to see my goals, because sometimes when you are constantly in the routine, you don't see
link down below for vision boards through Amazon. I'm just kidding. That affiliate link. Get some now.
It's important. Well, for me, like I said, visualizing it, because sometimes you're on the hustle and waking up and this, and it's the same routine every day. Sometimes you need to see it to actually just get motivated again, like remember what you're doing it, because you lose it sometimes.
I agree.
So
that can be helpful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I'm going to give you my hand, but we'll kiss later. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Obviously, we're going to be doing more type of content like this. Leave me a comment. I really, really appreciate when you guys leave me comments or even questions, because not only does it engage me, it also leads to better and further discussion. With that being said, have a great day. See you guys on the next one.